What's up, guys? Eli here, back for a movie review. Over the weekend, I picked up VHS 99. Now, I'm kind of a big fan of these VHS movies. I own all of them. I've watched them all. For the most part, like them all. I mean, if you've seen any of these, you get a mixed bag. I wouldn't say any of them are anywhere near being perfect or even stellar, but usually you get some. You kind of got to sift through, and you get some good shit out of some bad shit. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and see what I think about VHS 99. So you got five different segments this time. So in previous VHS movies, you always have kind of the storyline that kind of ties it all together. Something that threads everything. You kind of get that here too, but it's a little bit less. It's less interesting in my opinion. It's definitely less scary, less creepy. You pretty much just have like these teenage kids, and that's fine. So one thing I got to address this first. Why is it called VHS 99? I found that so strange because the last one was VHS 94. So 5 years later, that doesn't really make any sense. If you did like one per decade, one in the 70s, one in the 80s, one in the 90s, but two in the 90s is fucking weird to me. Now I could relate to a lot of this movie because I was a teenager myself in the late 90s, and you can totally tell that more or less everyone that put this together is probably the same age as me. They all probably were teenagers in the late 90s because the feel is pretty authentic. They kind of nailed it. The fashion, the music, what was popular around that time. So it was kind of a cool piece of nostalgia for me, I guess. I guess you could say I have some nostalgia for the late 90s. I try not to, but what can you do? So, anyways, the theme that ties it all together I found less interesting. It was fun, but it just wasn't scary, and that kind of goes for this entire thing. It's fun for the most part, but it's not as creepy or as scary or as disturbing as the most creepy and disturbing and scary sequences from all the other VHS movies. This one's a little bit more tongue in cheek. It's low budget, like they pretty much all have been. But they make it work to their advantage this time because they want to give it. Not only do they want to give it, the late '90s vibe, they wanted to give it the late '90s almost level of technology, for the monsters and CGI and stuff like that. So it is supposed to look cheap, and that kind of works to their advantage. So we'll kind of go through this segment by segment. Like I said, there's 5 of them. So the first one is called Shredding, directed by Maggie Levin. Now I gotta say, this is kind of a red flag for me. I wasn't familiar with any of the directors, any of the 6 directors of the 5 segments here. I had never heard of a single one of them. I take that back. One of them I had vaguely heard of, and I don't know. I'm still open to something good. Just because I don't know who a director is doesn't mean that they can't do something good. That would be some complete bullshit, and I'm not about that. But anyway, it's called Shredding, directed by Maggie Levin. In this one, you have this young pop punk band, which was, a popular style of music in the late 90s. Luckily, I never was into it, but, I knew people that were. So, they're high school kids. They're likable. They're relatable. And so they have plans to play this underground venue where another local band, actually, some years earlier, had died in a fire. When I say underground, I mean it was literally underground. So not a very safe place. So I guess a fire happened, and all four or 5, something like that. The whole band, anyways, got caught in the fire and died. I'm gonna probably have some spoilers here, by the way. So if you care about that thing, I just don't know how to review stuff without spoilers yet. I'm not that skilled, as you can see. So basically, the spirits, I guess, ghosts, they actually more look like zombies. That band that died in the fire live down in this underground venue that has been shut down, and they I guess they basically look like zombies, but that doesn't really make sense. When you die in a fire, you don't turn into a zombie. If they were ghosts or spirits, that would be one thing, but again, they just kind of look like ghouls, and they end up killing the young band that's fucking around down there, because that young band is, not only are they trying to play a concert down there, they're also kind of like disrespecting the legacy of the band that died in the fire. So not very good. Entertaining and a little bit of fun, and I can say that about all these, to be honest. They were all fun, but some of the previous installments of VHS had some sequences that were just downright disturbing, and you don't get much of that here. So shredding was fun, but kind of forgettable. I'm not really going to want to rewatch this one. It might be the weakest of the five, to be honest. Next segment, we got Suicide Bid, directed by Johannes Roberts, another director I'm not familiar with. So in this one, you got a college girl who is applying, I guess you could call it, to be in this specific fraternity. There's only one fraternity. She's in college. There's only one fraternity she wants to be in. So basically, that fraternity is putting her through an initiation process, in which they're going to put her through some serious shit. So rumor has it that another girl in that fraternity many years ago, I think like 20 years ago or something, had died from the same initiation, and now haunts this specific graveyard where it was done at. So basically, what has to happen is they want this girl to be basically buried alive in a coffin in a graveyard. They give her a video camera and they give her a rope to pull or something. They're like, well, if you bail, we'll let you out, but you don't get to join you have to spend the night here in order to join the fraternity. So basically it goes awry. The ghost of the girl that died in that initiation comes and kills the other girls that that are putting this current girl through it. I don't know. I'm struggling to even remember exactly what happens, because it was just, this was the weakest out of all of them. I wouldn't say skip it, but I don't know, if you're pressed for time or something, you could skip through this one and you're not really missing much. I didn't really care for this one at all. Definitely the weakest. So I'm struggling to even find the motivation to talk about it. I'm done with Suicide Bid. Not good. This is the weak link here, but still watchable. Still mildly entertaining. Next segment, we got Ozzies Dungeon, directed by Flying Lotus, which I had to look this guy up because I was like, what is this Flying Lotus, like a collaboration? Is it like a group of people? But no, it's a dude named Flying Lotus. And I think I had heard his name before. So in Ozzies Dungeon, you basically have this 90s children's game show host, not unlike all those game shows that were on Nickelodeon back in the day. I'm struggling to remember any of the names, but you know what I mean. If you grew up in the 90s, you know what I mean. So anyway, he is tortured by the family of a child that was hurt on set of his show some years back. Basically, he was kind of a shithead. I guess you could say he was just doing his job, but you could tell he was a prick. Basically, this girl, she was a contestant on the show. She somehow breaks her leg, like a serious compound fracture, to the point where her leg is almost broken off, which is so over the top and didn't really make any sense. But so basically, the family couldn't afford to ever do anything about it, and the guy was like, "You guys all sign a waiver. Liability was on you and not us." So they basically kidnap him some years later. They don't say how many years later, but it looks to be at least 10 years later. So they kidnap this game show host. They fuck with him. They basically put together a little set similar to, what his set used to look like. And they make him play this impossible game and try to get through it. So he ends up he loses. They're going to kill him. And he ends up saying, I can get you a wish, or I can get a wish for your daughter. That's how this shit works. I can get, we have this magical wizard lady who can grant the winner or whatever of a game of one of the game shows one wish, and it's so over the top. They all go back to this game show set where people for some reason are still living in. There is a cave attached to the set where you go through the cave and you find this like giant, looks to be like a 500-pound lady just laying on a table. And they're like, the guy speaks to her or whatever, and okay, you get your wish now. So the girl that has the fucked up leg whispers into the lady's ear, telling her what she wants. So you assume it's going to be money or like to fucking fix her leg. It shows her leg, by the way. She's in a wheelchair and like she's received no medical attention, so her leg is just all gangrene and stuff. Which, what the fuck? That doesn't work that way. You die from from gangrene poisoning, but. So anyway, she whispers into her ear the wish that she wants, and then the lady's stomach opens up, and this like Lovecraftian tentacle monster comes out, which is pretty cool. I gotta say, this is my favorite part of this whole movie. Comes out of her chest and melts everyone's faces in the room except for the little girl in the wheelchair. So like her family, who were somewhat innocent, I guess you could say, but it did make it look like the family was really just using her to try to make money. So I guess she was like hating her family. So basically that's what she whispered in the lady's ears: melt everyone's fucking faces off in this room. Everyone except for her. Pretty awesome, I gotta say. Very kind of Lovecraftian looking, and I dig it. I didn't think the whole sequence was great, but that end part was just pretty fucking cool. Next, we've got The Gawkers, directed by Tyler McIntyre. So basically, in this one, you got a group of teenage boys who, again, if you grew up in the late 90s, these boys are very relatable. They're doing things that teenage boys do, skateboarding, recording each other with giant video cameras, and basically gawking at their hot female neighbor. What I liked about this segment is it's showing how, like, this is kind of this is the stuff of movies in the 80s and 90s where you would show stuff that teenage boys did. Teenage boys don't have an understanding of what's politically correct and what's okay and what's not. They just they have a moral compass, but it's flexible. So basically the whole premise of this segment is showing that, like, okay, yeah, you can't really get away with making a movie like this nowadays, but this is a parody, so it's all right. So anyways, they're constantly gawking at the female neighbor. They're looking through the window and spying on her while she's washing her car and stuff like that. I was a teenage boy, okay? We all do that shit. But anyways, they all have a crush on her or whatever, but they take it a little bit too far when she ends up talking to one of them. She gets this new computer delivered, and she needs someone to help her set it up. So she gets one of the kids to help her do that. He ends up installing some spyware on her computer so they can basically spy on her while she's inside of her house. As soon as he's done, they go to their monitor and start watching her. And she, I expected that she was going to turn into something weird or just be something weird. But this is a spoiler. I get it, but I cannot talk about this segment without spoiling it. She turns out to be a fucking Gorgon, like Medusa. Maybe she is Medusa or just a Gorgon in general, but she turns out to be one of those. Like she ends up like pulling off her scalp basically, and out come the snakes and stuff. And instantly, somehow she finds out that the boys have done that. We're talking within a minute of the spyware working. So she basically runs over to their house to kill them all. She rips one or two of them apart. She turns one or two of them into stone, because that's, how the whole Gorgon thing works. And then it ends. Who wrote this and why? Why did you choose a Gorgon? That wasn't a late 90s thing necessarily, so there wasn't any like late 90s tropes. They just like, they could have had her be a vampire or anything. We're gonna make her a fucking Medusa or a Gorgon. Kind of fucking stupid, I gotta say, but whatever. Entertaining, kind of fun. Yeah. Now, segment number 5. This is gonna be the last one. It's called To Hell and Back, directed by Joseph and Vanessa Winter. I assume they're a married couple, but they could be brother and sister. I have not researched them. I meant to, and I forgot. Anyways, directed by Joseph and Vanessa Winter. This might be my favorite segment overall, although, like I said, Ozzies Dungeon had my favorite moment. But this overall, yeah, probably my favorite segment. This is kind of a play on the whole Y2K debacle. If you're my age, you remember the people kind of expecting Y2K to end back in, when midnight of the year 2000. This is kind of like that, only this has a doom cult who, they're like a coven of witches, and they need to perform this ritual that can only be performed on the night of Y2K, or at least that's how they make it seem. They hire 2 videographers, just these regular dudes, to record their ritual, to basically use one of the cult members as a vessel to release a demon into her body from some other dimension, I assume hell. And it goes wrong. The 2 regular dudes, the videographers, end up getting transported to this other dimension again. I assume it's hell, because that's just kind of what looks like. So they end up getting stuck there. They meet a girl who lives there for some reason, and she decides to try to help them escape. You have to go confront this other part of the Doom cult who are performing a ritual on the other end. You have to do something. You have to pass through this portal or whatever to go back to Earth dimension or whatever the fuck. So anyways, they're stuck there. They're getting attacked by demon creatures and cultists and stuff like that. Again, kind of Lovecraftian, kind of cool. Yeah, decent. They end up, they do end up successfully going through the portal and returning to Earth. But when they get there, the cultists just kill them. So that was decent. I don't know. That was a decent one. So yeah, that's all. That's all five of the segments from VHS 99. As a score, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 5.5 out of 10. I feel like that's a little generous. It probably only deserves a 4.5 or a 5. I'm giving it a 5.5 just because, again, I liked some of the stuff from here. It was kind of fun. Again, being a teenager growing up in the late 90s, kind of fun. It was pretty relatable. I'm kind of just repeating myself at this point, but be as it may, I still like I said at the beginning, I have some problems. It just wasn't scary or creepy or disturbing like some of the best segments from the others were. So I think it fails in that area, but it is still very watchable, and it is still it's a fun movie. So anyways, 5.5 out of 10. That's the best I can do. And have you guys seen it? Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of the other movies? Let me know what you think about the others. Are there certain ones you like and certain ones you don't? Do you hate them all? Do you love them all? Let me know. Anyways, Louis says hello. He's taking a nap back here, and we will talk soon, of course. Fucking cheers.